What we're going to do right now is we're going to transition to Todd Unbehagen. And Todd, I'm going to bring him on the line here real quick and get his screen shown over. Let me, there we go there. He's going to take us through a little bit of something which is way over my head, and the importance of having essentially, we're going to call it a CFO. As you're building your business, you're going to have somebody helping you with your money, no matter if you make $50 or you make 500,000. It doesn't matter. The money is the money, and we got to get paid for what we're doing. So, Todd, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut up right now, which everybody's probably clapping their hands for that, and I'm going to turn my screen over to you if I can figure out how to do this. Todd, there he is. And Todd, why don't you come on and let everybody know who you are, give them a quick bio, and we'll turn it over to you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Just it's great to be part of BABA and work with real estate agents. We've been doing this for 25 years, and a little bit about me, just a quick bio. I've been in the tax and accounting business, owning Unbehagen Advisors, and we specialize in small businesses, and we've got a lot of real estate agents and professionals as clients. And basically what happens is that through the years, we've just grown. I mean, all the way back to when with Bob McDougall when Future Home Realty was starting. And then we've added, a lot of Future Home agents, did a lot of seminars there. And then through the years added Keller Williams, Remax, whole bunch of different other agents as clients. So we've kind of grasped a big understanding of real estate agents, how they react, how they make money, as far as the business side. And I have degrees in accounting, master's degree in accounting, degrees in finance, economics, graduate of UF, and went into primarily tax accounting as an enrolled agent, and which we can represent clients' highest court of appeals and with the IRS, and work. It's a Treasury federal license, so we work closely with the IRS if anything is necessary there. And we have a whole team in the Tampa Bay area here with tax accountants and other accountants that work together for small businesses primarily, and again a whole big niche in real estate agents. So that's a little bit about us. And I kind of today put together a brief understanding. Leo and I talked about what kind of concept for today, a brief presentation on an audience for initial starting out real estate agents, but it really kind of pertains to more or less the even the senior agent that has been doing this for a while, because a lot of times what ends up happening is that agents kind of get bogged down in their own day-to-day sales and marketing. I don't know, Leo, are you looking at my slide?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I'll just go ahead and go to slideshow then and start slideshow here.
And if anybody has any issues, I know, Cindy, you're struggling with your internet connection. I see that. Just please use the chat box. Also, as we're going, since we want to start and stop these calls on time, if you wouldn't mind, just use the chat box for any questions. I'll be monitoring the chat box that you have for Todd as we go through this process.
All right. So are we okay? Can we see the slide? And if not, that's okay. I can.
Good to go.
Okay, good. All right. So basically, for the new agent, a lot of times people come in and as real estate agents, when I give presentations, know what your business is made of. A lot of times they don't understand that they're actually a business. If the real estate career is full time, basically, and it's not a side job, and I don't mean that facetiously. I just work with a lot of agents. Sometimes they walk in and say, "Hey, I just want to sell real estate to my aunt and uncle, and a couple transactions a year." And God bless you if that's what you're doing with your license, and but if you're really taking it seriously, which a whole lot of our clients obviously are, and you're doing it as a full-time real business, then really you can absorb a lot of this information because it's really going to help you. And it's a real business then. And people, they tend to come from a W-2 environment where they worked at a corporation. They might say, well, what do you mean a real business? And well, you're self-employed now. You're an entrepreneur. Okay. You're not just somebody who has a job or is out there just working in terms of, day to day and doing the same functions over and over again. You've got to manage three things, just like General Motors or General Electric or an attorney down the road or a title agent. There's three components of your business, just like every other business. There's marketing and sales. There's operations, and then there's finance and administration you have to worry about and work with. And if, they continue to evolve and improve, and if one of these three functions in your business fails, the whole business is going to fail. You're going to end up spending a lot of times unraveling it and fixing it than if you just did it right initially. Real estate agents are often, guilty of saying, oh, I'm just marketing person. And, I got my broker to help me with the operations. And boy, finance administration, I can just walk into my tax accountant's or my accountant's office at the end of the year and just figure it out. Well, that's typically not the way you need to think about it, because you're ultimately responsible for all three. And the more efficient you can make these things, the better off as a business owner, and the faster you'll grow and the better you'll be, especially in the marketing and sales side. Obviously, the more you can sell, the more revenue you make, and the more you should be thinking about leveraging. And that's a popular term, and especially in real estate agents, is leveraging other things away from you to generate more revenue and make more money. And so, and there lies ultimately your business in terms of the three components and how you can improve on them. And so then, moving forward, a lot of times people think about taxes, especially newer agents. They think about it, oh, I'll just think about this during tax season. And today I'm not going to get too technical and bog everybody down with the specific tax issues, but I'll get into some of them just for the sake of time. But conceptually, people just think, okay, I can pay my taxes at the end of the year when I'm self-employed, just like I did when I got a W-2 and I worked somewhere. I just walked in and some taxes were withheld, and Social Security was paid in. My employer was kind enough, because they had to by law send in taxes for me. And guess what? The reality is that nobody's sending anything in for you, and you're now seen as a responsible party by the IRS, the people that are supposed to calculate as a business owner prudently, assuming you have that finance and outsourced CFO department where you can calculate your estimate of taxes and send it in. Because if you don't, the IRS actually penalizes you and charges you interest at the end of the year if you don't pay your taxes as you go throughout the year. And the way you do that is through what's called quarterly estimated tax payments. And those payments are due April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, January, and January 15th of the year. If you don't pay in enough and you owe a certain amount over 2 consecutive years, the IRS actually will assess penalties and interest. And worst of all is that the next quarterly estimated tax payment is due April 15th. So it's a double-edged sword. A lot of times agents come in and they say, well, great, I owe this money. I wish I would have come in earlier. But yeah, here I actually saved some and have it. But now I turn around and our tax team turns around and says, look, you now have to owe more in April for next year. And so you need to get ahead of that and keep your cash flow going so you can focus on how much you have for marketing and other things. So it's important. And filing tax returns and tax payments are important. Also, legal tax avoidance strategies. And I didn't say evasion, because that's fraud. I said legal tax avoidance strategies. There are ways within the tax code to try to avoid and save as much taxes as possible legally. And you need to start talking about that, with a professional now, rather than waiting till the end of the year. So if you recently licensed, or if you're somebody in this call that works with new agents or even existing agents, they probably need somebody like us to come in and maybe just tell them, look, you need to start thinking about things in advance, and rather than wait until the end of the year. Because now you might have 2 taxes on a 1099 if you're a 1099 recipient as an independent contractor. You've got income tax and Social Security Medicare tax that you're supposed to be paying in. And that Social Security Medicare tax is at about 15.3% rate on top of your income tax. So, the days where your employer took 7.65% of Social Security Medicare out of your paycheck and then matched it because they had to, that now you're responsible for that full 15.3. So a lot of times realtors don't understand that, and they walk in our office at the end of the year with a 1099, all proud of themselves for their first year. And hey, I did pretty well on commissions. And we say, guess what? You now owe not only your income tax, but now another 15.3% in that Social Security Medicare as self-employment tax. And it becomes a big surprise to them. And so again, planning ahead of that is important. The third thing to talk about is, for a new agent is discover the difference between a PLLC, versus a sole proprietor. Now, Conan, our tax manager, and I have given, 2-hour seminars on just this one slide, and we'd be happy to do that anytime. But for the sake of this, we just need to know that, a real estate agent needs to kind of know the timing of when one of these entities might be necessary for them, because you can have the same profit, meaning income minus expenses in your business as a self-employed entrepreneur in real estate, but you might be taxed differently depending on what type of entity you pick to run in your business. So very simply, there's a corporation, there's an LLC. In the state of Florida, if you have a professional state license like realtors do, you have to then be instead of an Inc., an incorporated, you're a PA, a professional association, same thing, just different designation because you're licensed. Or you can be a PLLC, which is the same as an LLC, just a professional limited liability company. So those are two legal entities. Now you can form those and be taxed as an S corporation from an IRS standpoint, whether you form a PLLC or a PA. A sole proprietor is you just rolling out of bed and saying, hey, I'm in business today. I'm going to go out and get some leads and sell some real estate. And then you're a sole proprietor. Basically, you didn't form a separate legal entity. You just got a 1099 at the end of the year, and hopefully you've done some tax planning. So it's a cheaper and easier entity to be as a sole proprietor because you really don't do anything for that. So basically 1099 at the end of the year means that, hey, you're a sole proprietor if you get one of those, and you're not a separate legal entity like a corporation or LLC. And as a sole proprietor at the end of the year, you file a Schedule C in your individual return. Chance of audit is actually, per IRS statistics, 10 times greater as a Schedule C as a sole proprietor than an S corporation. That's one intangible thing that the IRS, that's interesting to note, that the IRS publishes every year. So, they're typically do-it-yourselfers and people that are kind of TurboTaxing and that kind of thing on sole proprietors, and they probably don't have enough sophistication yet to really, or income to really warrant talking to a tax accountant, at least in their mind they don't. So also when an IRS audits, they not only get income tax, but they also get self-employment tax. So they get more out of an audit on Schedule C than an S corporation possibly. So those are just some intangible things to know about that. Plus you have legal protection, which is the key as well when you form an LLC or a corporation, and your tax is an S corporation. So legal protection on personal assets. And Joe Russo is a business law attorney we work with in Tampa a lot and send a lot of clients to, and he can expand on the legal protection side of things. So I'm going fast and I know there's a lot of info, but just single member LLCs, if you form a one-owned LLC or PLC, it's disregarded. The IRS sees as you've done nothing for tax purposes. So you do have the legal protection. Sometimes clients can then convert to an S corporation later on with that LLC, but you can't go back in time and convert to an S corp once you're just a sole proprietor. So when they come in, we spend an hour with a realtor and we just give them a complimentary consultation and say, hey, look, maybe you should form a PLC now, especially if you're going to produce income that you think's reasonable, pretty good, and then we can convert to an S corp later on if we need to with that. If your income comes up, because a lot of times new realtors say, I don't know how much I'm going to make, and it's like, well, give us an estimate. Give us an estimate of what you think you're going to make. And then we can kind of diagnose what entity you should be and the timing of when you should do it for tax purposes, because there are costs and a responsibility associated with that. Like payroll, like if you're an S corporation, you have to take reasonable compensation of officers, which is another discussion on payroll and how to do that to help minimize some taxes on the distributions. Plan ahead. There's timing issues here to be considered. And conversion timing, and it's all predicated on income. So a realtor, back to one of these slides I have coming up, it'll talk about you coming together and actually sitting down and having an idea of your business plan, having an idea of your personal budget at home, how much you need to make, what you need to produce, and an idea of what you're actually selling and how much you're going to make and what your costs are. So that needs to happen even for a new realtor. Look for an easy bookkeeping system. That's another thing. A lot of times, especially nowadays, even the past 2 years, I mean, again, we've been here 25 years, but it's even gotten more important recently, I guess, and those on the call that work with mortgages would know more, obviously, but it just nowadays, they're asking anybody self-employed, anybody that gets a loan, they're really asking for monthly financial statements. And from what I understand, obviously it looks better if an outside accounting firm or company is doing that for you. More reliability, I guess, in their eyes, and which I understand. So monthly financial statements aren't just important for that, but they're important for planning. I mean, a lot of times people will come in as small business owners or real estate agents, and we'll say, well, how much? They'll ask us, how much tax am I going to owe next year? And we'll say, well, I don't know. You need to tell me, how much you're going to make. And they say, well, I don't know. And I say, well, I don't know doesn't fit on our tax planning software. We need a number. You need something to give us. And then we need to trace it throughout the year. So if something changes, especially real estate agents, they're notorious for income fluctuations upward and downward in good and bad times. And so we need to be able to monitor those quarterly estimated tax payments so you're not overpaying at the end of the year and just getting a huge refund. Why would you want to give the IRS a whole bunch of money to hold on to throughout the year and just give it back to you at the end of the year without even a thank you note? Or why would you want to owe a lot of money and be penalized at the end of the year? So those monthly financial statements can help manage your cash flow, help us understand how much taxes to be paying in and how to lower taxes by managing the salary in an S corp if you choose that entity, and then to get loans and also business management. Heck, I mean, it's nice to know how much you're spending as a percentage of your income on client leads. Especially a lot of the Keller Williams agents and stuff really track these things. I'm not pointing one out versus the other, but any agent should be tracking things like marketing and client leads and where your expenses are going, so you can figure out what's working and what's not, or else you're just kind of in the dark. And that's true with any business. So know your deductions and how to maximize them legally. Know what you're doing, and learn about mileage deductions and how we can, talk about that, and maybe have a mileage app. A lot of realtors use Mile IQ. I put that in there. Learn about home office deductions, how that works, and find a bookkeeping system that does not take you much time to learn and manage. A lot of times these realtors or realtor clients will come in and think, oh, I'm going to buy QuickBooks and stay up till midnight and reconcile it. And I'm like, well, if you think that's what's important as a business owner, is staying up till midnight instead of going out and getting a new lead or selling doing an open house, then I probably will guess you're not going to be the most successful business owner or realtor out there. If you're leveraging what's most important, which is your two things, your time, number one, and your money, basically, the cost associated with a bookkeeping system shouldn't be, it's deductible, first of all, and it shouldn't be a high percentage of your income. It should be reasonable. But we have a system in here where we working with so many small business owners over the years and realtors, where 15 minutes a month, you send us a few things and we take care of it for you and keep you compliant. And if you have payroll, do all the 940s, 941s, and RTC6s for a relatively very low fee on a monthly basis. And then you have full access to our outsourced CFO, our whole team here. So you can call us and ask us, and then at the end of the year, you get a call and your tax returns are done, your corporate returns done, and you've done tax planning a couple of times throughout the year. And that's the kind of relationships you should have, with your outsourced CFO or your accounting team. Your tax team that specializes in small business and doesn't ignore small businesses, but actually embraces them as an important client. So that's what you should be doing. And that way you can focus, again, driving revenue, driving sales, having discussions like we are today about Facebook and what works best, and having peace of mind knowing this stuff's taken care of. There's other things to build in too, like pre-tax business retirement plans. Most realtors love real estate investments, which is great, but we can also defer some pre-tax money into retirement plans, like setting up your own solo 401k or SEP or Simple or something like that. So these are things to consider with the open communication with the tax people once you're more profitable, and to work as a team. So that goes to the last slide, is, just make sure you're hiring a financial team to guide you. You're self-employed, take it seriously. You're a business owner, whether you've got a team behind you of, 15 agents or not, or you're just one person, you're a business owner. And successful business owners focus their time on selling and marketing and operations, and not preparing financials, and keep going to IRS seminars. I mean, if you guys ever want to have a good time, come with our team to a IRS seminar. I doubt you're going to like it. We're kind of weird. We like it. So, but for a real estate agent, you need to be out there doing your job. And again, that's why we sit down and say, okay, look, initially come up with some budgeting and pro forma. figure out what your household income is, and then go from there. And then we can help you with the tax accounting and preparation at the end of the year, bookkeeping, and any government compliance work that you have. So leverage relationships of a good team. And I think that's one of the key things that I see where newly self-employed people they're used to holding on to that job or trying to do it themselves. And I don't know anybody that's been doing this long enough that's successful that would say that that's a good idea. So that's a little bit about us. And we've been around, like I said, Tampa Bay 25 years, specializing in real estate professionals. And we can certainly love to sit down and talk to anybody that's interested, or come out if you've got a team and kind of do a seminar and let them know what they need to be focusing on, and get more specifics about S corporations and PAs and PLCs. Be happy to do that, and then more about bookkeeping.
Well, Todd, that's awesome, and I know it's so difficult when we talked about this last week, putting this together for just a 20-minute kind of overview, and Todd's knowledge and experience runs so deep and so wide. It's like, dude, how do I? They need to know more than 20 minutes worth of stuff. So I want to thank Todd for condensing all of this, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of pose the first question for you, Todd. We've got agents on the call that have brokerages, and then we have agents on the call that are just rolling out off of a W-2 and kind of going from there and ready to go. Number one, I want to make sure I reiterate the point. You are a business, therefore you need to act like a business, and kind of winging it off Excel and stuff like that kind of throw some red flags up. What's the first thing an agent needs to do? Should they form a company yet, or do you think they should just be a sole proprietor, or does it depend?
Well, it depends, and so like I was saying, initially a realtor has to hopefully sit down just personally and come up with their household budget and figure out, okay, how much am I going to really need to live, right? I mean, that's number one. Obviously, some people have a grasp of that, but then they need to figure out, okay, then how much is my business going to really earn for me? How much do I want to earn from my business? Because as you know, in real estate, I mean, especially in the market now, there's a huge potential of earning in the real estate business. So, I mean, we've been around 25 years. We've seen, it's fun. It's not funny, but we've been around long enough to know what cancellation of debt looks like in downturns. And now everybody's talking about 1031s on the upside. And if you've been in real estate long enough, you know what that means. I mean, deferring capital gains versus, short selling homes, those are two different economies altogether. So we've ridden the wave right now, kind of an upswing. The new realtors need to realize, how much money am I going to make? And then once we have that number, the answer of whether you should form an S corp or not is predicated on that. Like I said earlier, if you're just kind of holding a license, which I doubt anybody on this call is one of these agents, but if you're just holding a license to sell a house to an aunt or uncle once a year, you probably should just be a sole proprietor and save all the costs and effort of treating this like a business. Because in my mind, it's a side hustle, or if you will. It's a small bit. It's a side business that basically you're not trying to leverage your time. Your time isn't critical here, because you're not doing this full time. But if anybody is making any kind of income and treating this business seriously, as it should be treated in real estate as a real estate agent, I mean, at that point, we need to seriously consider forming a PLC or PA. We typically in a seminar will talk about, if your commissions are going to be anything, your 1099 is going to be over 40 or 50,000 a year. That's just a rule of thumb. That's not in a book anywhere, but just from over doing this so many years, that if you think you're going to get that out of the gate the first year, we need to talk right away. Regardless, we need to at least do some tax planning, even if you stay as a sole proprietor. Say, hey, look, this is how much you need to hold back. This is how much you need to pay in. That way you don't have that huge shock at the end of the year where so many people unfortunately will walk in and say, well, here's my 1099. Now what? And I said, well, now what should have happened back in August? And we should have talked about that. That way we could have planned this out a little bit better.
Yeah, and Cherie just posted a really good question there. Do you have any tips on an effective bookkeeping system that you recommend?
Starting out, you can, and this is kind of, I mean, we're just brutally honest. Sometimes and sometimes it doesn't even help us, and that's okay. But sometimes just starting out, if you're just barely scratching by, it might make sense for you just to keep receipts, and then we'll give you an organizer at the end of the year so you can fill it in and then we'll do the rest on. But if you're really coming into this thing and doing it as a full-time agent, I don't recommend full-time agents use QuickBooks or something else like that. And that just blows people's mind because they're like, what? Everybody's programmed on Intuit and QuickBooks, but they can, but I mean, we've got a lot of the bigger teams and agents and individual agents that are good producers in the Tampa area. What we do is we train them for 2 hours. I call it training, where we sit down with them for 2 hours, go through all their deductions and expenses and say, look, we'll set up a portal or email. Just send us your credit card statement for your business, because you'll open up a separate business account now. Send us your bank statement. Let us do everything and get you back financial statements. And if you have payroll, we're going to do all that for you and everything for a relatively very low fee every month. So you're spending no more than 10 or 15 minutes just basically sending us a couple statements every month, and we're organizing it and doing it in a way where we're going to save you a lot of taxes by making sure your deductions are maximized. Then you have, for no extra fee, you can call us and email us 100 times a year. We love it, for you to contact us. So you have that back office, kind of like an outsourced CFO, and it's not a lot. It's really not a lot of money to do that for a small business and the way our fees work. So bookkeeping system is basically us. I mean, we pride ourselves in that, but we do have quite a few clients that still use QuickBooks or do it themselves. They come in at the end of the year and do their taxes that way. But again, we found the more successful agents, they'll think they know because their uncle uses it or something else, and they'll go out and try to do it themselves. And then they run into a bunch of problems because it's a software solution. It's not necessarily an accounting or tax solution.
Yeah, and none of us, maybe not none of us, but I'll say most real estate agents, they hate this part. We can't stand this part of it because it's out of our wheelhouse, it's out of our comfort zone. Doing taxes and doing it with the holdings, and it's complicated, and we got to keep track of it. But as we're kind of talking about this in that business planning tool, which we'll expand on, some kind of a budgeting tool, something that you can do. Now, realistically, Todd, I think you'll agree with me. If you take, let's say Monday mornings are your day, you come on this call, you do your marketing efforts, you do your Facebook checks, all that kind of stuff on Monday mornings. If you could spend 10 or 15 minutes and kind of reconcile your week, what you spent, your miles, utilities, whatever it is, 10 or 15 minutes every Monday makes a huge difference. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, even if you tap into our process and our system, it shouldn't take you more than 15 minutes a month, because we'll do the rest. And again, if you're up till midnight, dealing with your own QuickBooks and spending 3 hours of 4 hours a week trying to figure stuff out and Googling tax code questions, I mean, what are you really doing? You're not really running a business. You are, and we might hire you as a tax accountant at some point because it sounds like you're doing our job. And I'm not going to go list my own home and try to be a real estate agent either. I once was at a seminar, and I had about 80 really high producing agents in the Tampa area at a seminar. I'm not going to say which broker, but they were high producing, high caliber agents, and they were making fun of for sale by owners. And I said, because they were calling on them, right? And I said, well, raise your hand in here if how many typically for sale by owners are high level executives that are pushing and really hard driving entrepreneurs. I mean, how many of them? They go, well, really not any. It's just kind of people just trying to save a dime and kind of do it themselves. I go, well, how many of my top producing real estate agent clients are trying to do their own QuickBooks and their own bookkeeping themselves? And they just looked at me and they go, oh, I get it. You shouldn't be doing this stuff yourself.
Yeah.
You know the power of leveraging and helping, having others help you do it. And you're going to be a lot more successful down the road having a team behind you to worry about all this stuff that you should hate doing, and that we can help maximize and save you time and a lot of money in taxes if we're doing our job. And if we're not, we wouldn't be here for 25 years. So.
Right. And that's kind of hits it on the head right there. And for all the folks that are on the call, it's kind of like, look, if Todd's not your guy, great. Get a guy. Get somebody.
Get a guy.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah.
Don't do nothing. Don't stand by and just do nothing and put it on an Excel sheet, because you're going to end up shooting yourself trying to get all of this stuff done. And 9 times out of 10, you're exposing yourself because you just don't know what you're going to get hit with. So Todd's company, and you can see he's got the slide right over there with his phone number, the 727 number, and Unbehagenadvisors.com. Todd has systems. He works with real estate agents in a plug and play kind of manner. And the biggest problem I think we have as real estate agents is really more the bookkeeping side, keeping it organized. I remember the days of throwing all the receipts in a shoebox and spending a weekend going through all that. And then half of them are faded and can't find them. And just, I know I'd spent this here. It's just a mess, and it's a nightmare. So Todd, for the agents that are on the call right here, they can reach out to you, correct? And they can have a consultation.
Yeah, we'll offer a complimentary initial consultation. Just bring the last couple of years of your tax returns in. We'll go over all our fees and what we do, and then create a customized system for just you. Even if you're just saying, hey, I just want my taxes at the end of the year. Okay, well, we can do that too. We don't have to do everything, but if we can convey some of the value and have you understand what else we can do, that's probably going to benefit you as you grow, especially. And don't, like I said all through this thread, is don't wait until February to be coming in. I mean, you're especially if you haven't done any tax planning up to this point. It's not a way to run your business. You want peace of mind. You want to know throughout the year things are under control, and then basically you get a phone call if we're doing your bookkeeping every month, and you'll get a phone call saying, hey, your corporate or your business tax return is completed. We've already done tax planning once or twice throughout the year, part of our monthly fee. And you just move on to the next year and the next year and the next year. And it's just a lot better way of doing business as an entrepreneur in real estate.
You're right. It's so much easier. And I've gone through ups and downs in my life, and I've had the same CPA for 25 years. And even when I was dead broke, I'm still paying that guy. Heck yeah. Because that stuff, again, I don't want to do. And he pretty much, he trained me up on like, look, dude, you need to do the bookkeeping. Now, Todd has a service for bookkeeping, which I still do my own bookkeeping, which is probably stupid on my part, but it's critical and important to run a business like a business. And remember, you're CFO, guys. You're the CEO, and having this team of folks around you that you can go to, that's not your uncle, that's not your brother, that's not the retired whatever, that's in it, doing it, and they're doing it in your industry. That's the key. In your industry. Todd works with hundreds of real estate agents and real estate investors. There are nuances to the industry that Todd and his group know. They've been around for a long, long time. And Todd, I'm going to put Kevin on the line here in a minute. We're going to push Kevin here for an upcoming Baba. We've got the investor edition coming up soon. After that, I want you and I to do a presentation on the insurance side, the deferred compensation kind of stuff, where we can operate with some retirement planning, retirement funds, and talk about life insurance and disability, and have you come on certainly and talk about taxes and tax planning. So we're going to put Kevin on the spot and make him put us on stage here. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Well, awesome. I've got the mics on right now for everybody other than Kevin. Does anybody else have anything for Todd right now that you want to ask? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Well, I guess that's a pretty good little webinar.